We are having to deal with this Wesley Girls Senior High School matter because of the Attorney General's response earlier in the week. But this matter started as far back as 2024, in the last quarter of 2024, when Shafiq Osman took this matter to court. Well, a number of reliefs that he was seeking. The Education Minister, Harun Idrisu, has also spoken on this matter this week. Wesley Girls Senior High School is owned by the Methodist Church and not the state. This is the Attorney General's response. He says that Wesley Girls has the right to practice its religion. It's entitled to government funding even as a religious body. And state cannot take away the religious rights from the Wesley Girls Senior High School on the basis that it receives funds from the state. But this is what Harun Idrisu, the Education Minister, said in Parliament earlier in the week on this matter. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, let me also use this opportunity in debating the budget, since I speak as the present Minister for Education, that there is some ongoing debate on restrictions on Muslim students in Wesley Girls, which conflicts with international human rights standards and even standard expected of us in Ghana's constitution and Article 33(5) and 26(1) of the constitution. And then to assure our colleagues that we have a duty to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian child and to uphold the rights of every Ghanaian citizen. No right is divisible, and that we will not countenance any action by any person to deny any Ghanaian girl the opportunity to profess or practice any religion. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude.
Well, so that's the Education Minister, Harun Idrisu, there. Let me bring in now, and in fact, acknowledge the presence of Kofi Asari, Executive Director of the Africa Education World, one of the foremost CSOs in the education sector in this country. Kofi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Also, we have Abdul Hamid Osman also joining us. He is the Executive Director of the Zango Institute for Development. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Perfect. Now, I mean,
much.
Kofi, I'll start off with you. This matter has come up in different forms in the past. It's either, to do with student Rastafarianism, or girls in senior high schools being prevented from wearing hijab. How is it that we haven't gotten a hold on this matter that keeps coming up in different forms? Now we have to ask a question of law at the Supreme Court on this.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of not having or gotten hold of, the matter or bringing it under control or complete control, but it's very much an issue of society and how relationships, conducts are not static. In the same way as expectations are not static. Mm-hmm. So it is not, and again, it's not to create a situation that there is chaos or there is pandemonium in the observance of parallel religious rights in schools that are owned by missions. It is not the case. Let me indicate that majority of our schools are owned by missions. The largest, owned by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church owns over 5,000 schools. About 20% of schools in the basic school sector is owned by the Catholic Church alone. And then about 12% of schools in the secondary school sector also owned by them. So it gives you an idea about, and in all these schools, they allow, for parallel religious practices to take place. And so it is not the case that there's a crisis. Mm. Indeed, in the senior high schools, there's only one senior high school I know. Let me say, in our secondary schools, okay, there's only one secondary school I know that has issues with allowing Muslims to practice their religion or manifest their faith, especially within the context of prayers and fasting. There's only one school.
Which is?
Of all the schools owned by the Catholics, the Anglicans, the Methodists, Presby, and other faiths, I don't know of any school that has this challenge. And so it is the case that 99.9% of our Christian mission schools have actually acceded to the dictates of the MOU, which provides for inclusion, you know, in the observance of, you know, faiths. And so I want that context to be made.
That's right.
And to the extent that we
It's
always...
It's not a widespread situation.
Exactly.
It's specific to a particular school.
So as we discuss the case before the Supreme Court, we should appreciate that it is an effort by a citizen to seek interpretation, okay, to how certain provisions in the Constitution is manifesting in a particular school. But it is not the case that the tolerance or the level of acceptance of Christian missions for Muslim religion is low or is an threat. No.
I see. Well, but Hamza, do we risk this tolerance that Kofi talks about actually also being brought to question if this matter is determined in court? Because then that will become a precedent. Absolutely. It will become a reference to all the other senior high schools who are even tolerating and, in fact, having this kind of diversity being allowed in the schools.
I think that we don't risk damaging the tolerance that we've been enjoying as people. And you see, Alfred, first of all, everywhere, not just in Ghana or Africa, the issue of religion and ethnicity are difficult conversations to have. Difficult conversations because the tendency for the conversations to privilege what I refer to as conflict or segregational attributes over and beyond that of harmony and coexistence is very high. And so that point needs to be made. And even in established democracies in the Western world, they still baffle with the inherently conflictual and segregational nature of religious and ethnic discourse when it comes to cultural identity. So it's not peculiar to us as a people, as far as our developmental trajectory is concerned. Again, the danger has to do with how those of us who comment on it run the commentary based on the two extremes, because every religious side has extremists. There are many of us who run commentary because we want to appeal to our religious sect, especially in relation to this particular case, not because we are actually concerned in finding solutions to it. And that is where the danger is, because it is always about the obsession to trend and be seen by your sect as propagating their views or championing their cause. And that is why from day one, Alfred, I have maintained, I'm part of the Council for Shafiq. And that is why I have said that we should stop looking at this matter as a contest between Christianity and Islam in Wesley Girls Secondary School. We should begin seeing it as another constitutional test under the 1992 Constitution, and whether or not people would be able to enforce their rights or not.
Okay.
If we take it to that level, we would succeed in toning down the sensationalism and emotional commentary that mostly drives religious and ethnic commentary. And so it is key. When Shafiq decided to go to court, he did not go to court he did not invoke religious teachings or Islamic doctrines. He invoked constitutional provisions. That is the 1992 Constitution. Okay. And so even if the outcome is determined, it will not be a victory either for Christianity or Islam. It will be a victory for the 1992 Constitution. That's one. And let me give you this important... Yes,
in a minute.
Yes, Alfred. You see, there are three claims that have come out in this matter, and that we need to be careful. The first claim is that the fact that the Attorney General, in his statement of case, on behalf of the second and third defendant on the matter, seem to be arguing that, look, it is a mission school and not really public, and also they have the right to practice their religion. It gives the impression as though the Attorney General is taking a position, especially those extremists who are commenting on it, is taking a position against Muslims. We are in court, and I don't think that that's the impression.
Okay.
What the Attorney General has simply done is given the entire nation the opportunity to begin to raise issues that the Tyrone Maguire failed to address. Because in the issue of Achimota and Tyrone Maguire, we're not dealing with mission schools. We're dealing with what we all agree to be a public institution. Now, there are many who feel like Wesley Girls is a mission school and assisted, and it doesn't make it a public institution. The Attorney General is simply telling the court that, is that a public institution or not? And the Attorney General is also saying that, look, even if it is, I respect the rights of Muslim students to practice their religion. I also respect the rights of Wesley Girls as a Christian school to also enforce their teachings. It is now left onto, and so I don't want to interfere in any of these rights. It is now left onto the court to make a determination as to whether indeed the measure of restriction is one that is allowed under our law. And so we must be careful. Even those of us who are speaking for Wesley Girls to Muslims to be given an opportunity to practice their religion and Wesley Girls, we must be careful. Then second claim, which is important, Alfred, I must apologize. The second claim, to the effect that, and I've listened to many of our commentators say it, that, Wesley Girls is at that posture because it succeeded in maintaining its traditions and didn't allow it to be watered down. And so, why are Muslim students coming there or allowing them to practice has the effect of maybe watering down its principles? You see, one point we are missing is that even the decision of Muslims to want to go there is a manifestation of the kind of respect they have for the Christian teachings that underpinned that religion.
Thank you. Now,
no, I beg you,
I'll come to that the next one. But you see, this has been coming up in different forms. That's why it actually even gave rise to the MOU that Kofi referenced. It's binding. It's a memorandum of understanding. That should have been a guide, is it not, so as to avoid all of this. But we keep coming back to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not a very simple issue because a few years back we had to dig, one of the groups I chair, Advocates for Christ, we needed to dig into the background. And we discovered that in the history of Wesley Girls, there had been a point where a number of girls, Christians, engaged in fasting, had some very serious health consequences, which ended up with the school being, parents and all that came up. So they took a decision because of a Christian act of fasting that no students will fast. So at the moment, even in Lent, it has nothing to do with whichever religious affiliation you have. They have that position that, listen, based on our historical records and what has transpired in our school, we don't allow this. So it's not complicated when you have, as it were, another religious group saying we want to fast, when they have said to their own constituents as Methodists, you can't fast even during Lent. It's not as simple as just the MOU. And I'm glad that, as Kofi pointed out, it's only basically one school where we seem to have this issue. I think that it's a matter of sitting down. Because of the sensitivities, I think you need to, I would rather the parties sit down and resolve it. Because any decision,
maybe an out-of-court settlement?
Honestly, I just think that it might become much more complicated because the sensitivities are high. We are entering our period of Christmas, where it's peace and goodwill to all men. And I think that we should keep the peace. I think that not understanding the nuances of the historical context could end up creating much more confusion and chaos than we are anticipating at this point.
Well, okay, now you are wearing the Advocates for Christ hat on this one. But Kofi, an out-of-court settlement, you think? I mean, just because there had already been some conversation prior to all of this, with even the MOU spelling out what should be the guidelines to addressing a situation like this?
I am not comfortable with what appears to be conflicting positions between the Attorney General and the Minister for Education.
Is there a conflict, you think?
it appears to be Attorney General's submission on the matter and the Minister of Education submission in Parliament appear to be a bit conflicting. Now, I think that there's a void somewhere. I don't think that the solution to this lies in the court system.
Right.
Because how 99.9% of Christian mission schools have accommodated Muslim practice wasn't negotiated through the court system. You understand? And so I don't think that the solution to getting Wesley girls to accede to what all others have acceded to lies in the court system. I think that from 1851, when the Education Ordinance came into being, when the missions were fully in control of our schools and government was only funding, through to our first Education Act in 1961, all the way to now, the current 1049, there are provisions, and there's a provision in 1049 that requires that an MOU be developed to provide a framework for managing mission schools. We are in year 5 after the passage of that law. The MOU is still in the draft. It hasn't been adopted. That's supposed to be the mother MOU that would have provided the broad framework for such supporting MOUs as the one that was facilitated by the National Peace Council and the missions. You understand? And so if the GS and the Ministry of Education is able to prioritize and wrap up that particular mother MOU, which will flesh out the level of control that the state wishes to, cede to the missions in the management of their schools, and etc. in what areas, then we can properly situate the Peace Council-led MOU into the broader government missions MOU.
Right.
So if we build consensus around the mother MOU and situate what we have now as an offshoot MOU into that, I think we can make more progress than expecting results to come from the courts. I believe that we can dialogue and build consensus and make more gains, consolidate same. My only worry is that the statement that was issued by the Christian Council and the Catholic bishops suggested that they are against the observance of parallel religious systems in our schools. And that flies in the face of the MOU. And I thought that statement took us back because it questioned the very essence of the MOU because they signed the MOU. The statement that came from the group, including His Eminence the Chief Imam, also, I think, was a bit too harsh. It didn't solve. It was more of. I don't see it as contributing to solving the problem, because we've seen statements fly from Christian Council and Catholic bishops, statements fly from Methodists, a new one has flown from Anglican. Okay, so we felt that a statement emanating from quote unquote the minority group, in this case the Muslim group,
and you use that advisedly.
Should have. Yeah, that's the minority.
Yes, in the context.
Should have been a bit more, diplomatic. It was a bit, as we say, fire for fire. And so I think that the statement should cease. I think that it would be important for a higher authority to facilitate dialogue of all those who have issued statements. And I'll be happy if the president can step in at this point.
Abdul, so is it a path that you take? Dialogue, cease, all the firing of statements, essentially?
Obviously, if you look at the trajectory, this has been happening for some years now. Since 1997, the Ghana Muslim Students Association had to come out to release a statement. This is about almost 30 years with regards about discrimination in our schools. Fast forward, 2015, even the former minister, the late Dr. Manibo Ama, who was then the Minister of Information, he also issued a statement condemning an action which was brought to his concern that Muslims were being prevented from praying in their schools and fasting. We went forward, 2021, the issue came up again. So if you look at the trajectory over the years, there has been calls to various departments or various institutions to address this issue within the scope of the schools. Ghana Muslim Students Association, normally when there are issues like this, they go to the schools. I served as a GIMSA president when I was in Aquinas, St. Thomas Aquinas. That's a mission school. There we have the chance to pray. We even use the auditorium to organize Muslim programs.
But you also participated
We
in
participate.
the
We
Christian
don't miss, yes,
prayers
Wednesday
and all
Mass.
of that.
The Wednesday Mass, which is done monthly. We Muslims in Aquinas, when I was there, I was the president. Before I was the president 3 years, we go to the church, we sit throughout. Every single student who is a Muslim sits in the auditorium to observe the Mass. But when it's 1 o'clock, second break, we get the chance to go and pray. We've avoided flouting rules of the school.
Right.
If we go to other institutions, we follow
the
same.
same. I mean-
What these Wesley girls are asking is nothing than if you allow them to practice their own. You know, boarders on Sundays, their costume, when you are going to boarding school, the kind of things they ask you to bring, you come with your Sunday wear, the church service dress, they wear it. They all can go to church, they don't have a problem. But when you ask them to go to your church and then tell them not to practice their religion, which violates Article 12, which violates Article 17, then Article 21, it all violates.
But
all of these
does the
aspects have been
solution for this
violation.
matter lie in the courts? That's where
So that is the interpretation that Shafiq is seeking. And as my brother said, what Shafiq Mohammed and the team are looking for is to set a standard where everybody can look up to. Because tomorrow, if this is not addressed properly, the 2021 High Court on the Rastafarian issue in Achimota is there as a case point. But still, we are having this issue in Wesley Girls. So the determination by the Supreme Court, after 14 days that they've been given to respond, would go a long way to help us achieve this purpose. So Muslims in general love Christians. Even it's our religion directs us to marry.
I don't think we even have to stretch the boundaries of this matter
like the
to
statement
the point
he made.
of,
He made a statement that
Muslim Christian. I think we would be
the statements that are flying about
the boundaries of this.
Okay, I agree with you.
Let's keep it compact.
Yes, but if you look at the statements flying about, one is saying no, the other person is saying this way. So it's trying to create that entrenched position between two religions, and that's what we want to avoid.
Okay.
So that
Perfect.
cordial relationship already there, and it's going to exist, and that is what is making us walk about freely and go to each other's programs, work at the same places. We love each other. We even
Thank you.
marry each other.
Absolutely.
So that is the point I'm making.
Fantastic. Dr. Zato, on this.
Let
Dr.
You see,
Zato speak in
there's
a
something,
minute on
and I've
this.
just said Christian Muslim. My name is Jebunti. That name wasn't given to me in the church or in a mosque. I was born a traditionalist. That name, my father, they went to the soothsayer, revealed the name Jebunti to them.
I see.
They killed a dog, a sheep, a guinea fowl, and to sacrifice and give the name.
They killed a dog.
A dog.
You
a
mean
sheep.
they sacrificed a
Yeah,
dog?
they sacrificed a dog, a
sheep.
sheep, a guinea fowl, and about 5 other fowls. We said that then they commanded, we commanded, we chanted, and then they named me after
So
Djibouti.
the gods gave you the name.
The gods gave me the soup.
What's the meaning of Djibouti?
Djibouti is the third male son named after the Djibouti god. And the Djibouti god was a warrior god that was used in the olden days, in the dark days. If you wanted to sacrifice Djibouti, you needed the head of a Gonja man, the president or a Kasana man to sacrifice Djibouti. That's why these days, I know what I'm saying. The president is a Gonja, you know, understand? We are, or a Kasana man. Okay,
again,
I'll just say Gonja man, sorry.
No,
He knows, they know. And we needed a Gonja man. That's why my appellation is Nyubori. So if you want to say Nyubori Dala, that means head cutter. Thank you. But I'm coming back to this point. You see, the problem we have is the suit. This suit is the biggest problem, is the biggest threat to what we have right now. I'm saying that's because of this. Look,
quickly.
The suit is appealing to our West fears and our West devils. This suit is not appealing to our better angels when it comes to managing this section. What the suit is doing is that everybody is running away to their extreme orthodoxies. And that is what he just said. If 99.9% of schools are doing it, and if we just have one case, that means that it can be managed. What the suit has been, now look at all the, all the messages being fired. Everybody's running to the orthodoxy.
So an out-of-court settlement?
Exactly. So look, quickly to solve this, remove that suit from the court, Let's sit at the brotherhood of love. Let's sit at the brotherhood of friendship. Let's sit there and Jojo and get, because at the, all of this, one thing I'm realizing, if we are all looking for our religious purities, where is the interest of the kids? Where is the interest of the children that we are sending there? If we put their interest supreme, we will put aside these differences. If we prioritize that, we'll put it. But anything short of that, we are surcharging the children of this country, and it is not in our best interest to do that.
Thank you. Because you are one of the council, just limit quickly in a minute.
That has always been the problem. Doc, I do not have any problems with calls for dialogue as far as this particular issue is concerned. But I think that we need to follow the court case and understand that it is not driven by malice or hatred towards any religious sect. And that's why I said that if you look at many of the reliefs being sought, even the Muslims agree that the Christian values has shaped the school. They agree, it's not in contention. That is why you would see Muslim parents wanting their kids to go there. But if you give an impression that allowing Muslims to practice their activities will dilute these disciplinary measures, it raises the question as to whether indeed Islam as an institution too, and a religious body, whether indeed it is not a religion that prides also self in discipline. Because we believe strongly that this is a disciplinary religion as well. It teaches the kids how to be disciplined and respectful. And so there's the need for us to understand that.
Thank you.
And understand that these two schools can cohabit, at least they can live harmoniously together. We have lived harmoniously together for long. And finally, on the issue of the relevance of the suit, you see, while it may be one school, let us not be afraid of the laws of the Republic of Ghana.
Okay.
To the extent that people are invoking their constitutional right, let us not create an impression in this country that anybody who attempts to invoke his constitutional right would risk jeopardizing the sustainability or future of this country. That is not the reason why the constitution was promulgated.
Thank you.
So but I do not object to any cause for out-of-court settlement, so that at least Wesley girls can. Because in truth, what is happening is the highest form of respect to Christian teaching and orthodoxy.
Thank you.
Because Muslims know that their teachings have value. That is why they want to.
Thank you. Who should lead that process?
They are only seeking to practice their religion. They are not saying restrict your practices as Christianity.
I think one, the president must intervene,
Or the National House of Chiefs.
because the Peace Council has lost control over an MOU that it facilitated. But they were the facilitators. But the way the key actors that signed the MOU are throwing, statements in the air, I think that we need to escalate the mediator beyond the Peace Council. And that's why I'm saying that the president must call the missions and then have a conversation. This is not about the case in court. Right. This is about the statement being issued. Secondly, we must expedite processes at the Genius Council level to formalize the MOU, which not the MOU on religious tolerance, but the broader MOU for missions participation in the delivery of education. These two things must be, expedited. But I'm calling for calm. We don't want to hear any more statements. We don't want to see any more extremist statements being made. Yeah. At this point, we can only make progress based on dialogue and consensus.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And I truly appreciate you on this.